Hello, everybody. My name is Jason Vlindy. I'm one of the co-senior pastors of Keller United Methodist Church. I am actually here in downtown Fort Worth at First United Methodist Church of Fort Worth with my good friend Lance Marshall.
Hey, Jason.
Who is the senior pastor of First United Methodist Church downtown Fort Worth. We're in this beautiful studio where they do their podcasting, and they've invited me down because I am actually here to ask Lance a number of questions regarding Keller United Methodist Church's endowment, because you at First Methodist Fort Worth have an endowment.
We do. In 1964, the business director of our church went on a trip to New York City. He met a historic church there, and their business director had an endowment. And it was a chance for previous members of their church to support it over the course of generations. And it so inspired him that they came back and started an endowment here in 1964. That endowment has continued to grow, and today is an integral part of every ministry that we do at our church.
Well, so we're just starting one. So we're just trying to learn, like, what can an endowment do for a congregation? And so I'm curious to know, what sort of gift has the endowment been for First Church Fort Worth?
So one of the most important things that the endowment does, of course, is provide funds. But before we even get to that, one of the things that it signifies is a church that's thinking about long-term ministry. It's not just about us and right here and right now, but it's saying, what can this church do for people that we haven't met 10, 20, 50, 100 years from now? Yeah. Because First United Methodist Church of Fort Worth is going to be here in 100 years, and so is the First United Methodist Church of Keller. So what the endowment does more than anything else is signify that the people who came here decades before me were committed to my life and the way that this church can impact it, and we're doing the exact same thing.
That's encouraging to hear. I love the idea of thinking about endowment as a hope, a future filled with hope.
That's right.
And so that's clever. So presumably then, if the endowment is built around a hope over the future, in what ways do you see God, or have seen God, working in and through the endowment here at the church?
Well, I would like you to imagine what would happen if you talked to some of our church members in 1964 who started our endowment with a few $1,000s and said, you are not going to believe the difference that our social media ministry is going to make reaching unchurched people around the world and connecting people hundreds of miles away through our podcasts and the ways in which we create this content. They couldn't imagine it. They couldn't imagine, in 30 years, a piece of property is going to come available, and we're going to be able to make that piece of property a part of our church so that when the entire demographic outlay of the city changes, we'll still have enough parking for our growing church. They couldn't have imagined any of those things because that wasn't the road in front of them, but they knew something was going to happen and the church was going to be ready, and they made it possible.
That's fantastic. I've not ever thought about the reality that an endowment creates the potential to be open to God's working for an unknown future.
That's exactly right.
And so to be able to be secure in that hope and to know that God will be present in the midst of all of that and reveal what is yet to be revealed, I can't begin to imagine what the next several decades of the Keller endowment might be. Yeah. But I can see how that would work out.
I guarantee you won't recognize it.
Right.
But I guarantee you it will be changing lives with the good news of Jesus.
And so just to wrap up, I just wanted to ask one more question because it's new for Keller Church.
Sure.
So what is the difference between giving to the endowment and giving to operational expenses of the church? What is the difference, and why should we do one or the other?
Absolutely. And let me use my own financial giving as an example. Great. So my wife and I tithe on every paycheck. Okay. So we give 10% of our income to the church's operating budget. And the church is not a bank. The church is using that money to fund ministries right now.
Yes.
That's going directly into ministries that are encountering people, that are reaching people, that are serving people today. Right. It is the fuel that is running the church. Now, we also plan to make a gift to the church's endowment at one point. What the endowment is a special fund that grows over time. It's managed by members of the church who serve on the endowments committee, and they invest it and help that money grow. And that money is distributed to the church on a regular basis. Okay. So when we give our gift to the operating budget of the church, it's going to get used right away. When we give it to the endowment, it's going to be invested, grown, cultivated, and over the course of decades or longer is going to regularly sustain the ministries of this church into perpetuity long after we're gone.
I appreciate the distinction there. Yeah, there's an immediate need, and then there's a long-term piece that we're looking at. Back to, as you mentioned in the beginning, back to that future filled with hope.
It's a way to not just fund the ministries of today, but fund the ministries for decades to come.
Well, on behalf of all of us at Keller United Methodist Church, I wanted to thank you for your time and for your willingness to witness to the endowment here at First Church, and trust that as we move into a future filled with hope, that we too at Keller Church might begin to see the great and good things that God is doing in and for us through the work of the endowment. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.